Modern eggs are different than the eggs that your great-great-grandma consumed. And that's because what a chicken eats and how a chicken is raised impacts the nutrients and the types of fat in an egg. And that has drastically changed over the last 100 years. So here I'm at the Angel Acres Original Farm, and we are on a mission to produce the healthiest eggs possible. Maximal nutrients and healthy fatty acids, low in PUFA's polyunsaturated fatty acids. And we do that by going back in time and implementing old school traditional farming practices. And in order to increase the supply to match the demand, we don't just add more and more chickens at our own farm. Instead, Angel Acres Egg Club is a partnership of small-scale regenerative farms that allow us to increase supply without sacrificing quality. All of our partner farms implement our standard operating procedures, mobile pasture-raised, moving chickens to a fresh patch of grass regularly, and utilize our custom low-PUFA feed. So let's go check out one of our Angel Acres Egg Club partner farms. Welcome to one of our partner farms. In order to produce more high-quality, low-PUFA eggs, instead of cramming more and more chickens into these double-decker confinement barns, instead, we're bringing small farms back. So we partner with several small-scale regenerative farms who raise chickens out on pasture, mobile pasture-raised. This allows us to produce more higher quality rather than sacrificing quality and pumping out production in these factory farms. So this is mobile pasture raised. So the ladies are always on the move. These structures, they are not stationary. These are trailers, so they are moved regularly to a fresh patch of grass every few days. So with mobile pasture raised, this is better for the chicken's health and for the environment. So when we regularly move chickens to a fresh patch of grass, this gives them clean, healthy, diverse grasses for them to consume, and also more insects and bugs. It also allows them to move away from their previous patch so that they're not constantly living in their manure or being exposed to parasites. This provides clean, healthy living conditions so that we can raise chickens without pharmaceutical interventions like no vaccines, no antibiotics, and no hormones. This is also better for the environment because chickens can be destructive. So these little beaks, these little feet that they have, if they're in the same area for a long period of time, they can scratch and peck and cause destruction to the grasses that they're on. And this can lead to land degradation and, too much nitrogen in the area because their manure is very rich in nitrogen. So regularly moving the chickens also helps us better support Mother Nature and improve the soil microbiome. However, mobile pasture raised is not exactly easy because chickens require feed, water, nest boxes, and a place to perch. So that means that all of those things have to be mobile. You have to have water that's able to be moved to the next patch, feeders that are able to move, and their homes need to be moved. But we think that having this mobile pasture raised setup and that extra work required is important, and it helps us produce more nutrient-rich eggs that are healthier for you. So these rollaway nest boxes are one option, and they're inside the mobile coop here. And just pick it up and gather the eggs like so. Unlike cows, chickens are not 100% grass-fed. They are monogastric animals, which means single stomach, and they rely on a supplemental feed to get all the protein and energy and nutrients that they need. So it's of course important to know how a chicken is raised, but it's also important to know what supplemental feed those chickens are eating because it can make up 80 to 90% of the chicken's diet. Since you are what you eats, it's important to know what the chickens are eating. So I designed a custom low-PUFA corn and soy-free feed, and it is now made at a local feed mill and delivered to all of our farm partners. So at Angel Acres Egg Club, we take it a step further. We not only custom formulate the feed, we also know exactly who grows the feed ingredients. So we have regenerative egg farm partners, but we also have regenerative row crop farm partners that produce these feed ingredients. So that way we know every step, seed to fork. Our eggs were actually tested glyphosate-free, and that's because our regenerative row crop farm partners produce the feed ingredients without synthetic pesticides. So that way the chickens are able to eat clean, pesticide-free, low-PUFA feed. And since pesticides and PUFAs accumulate in the chickens, that allows us to produce clean, pesticide-free, low-PUFA eggs. So chickens out on pasture have much more diverse diets. When you think of a chicken in a confinement barn or even in a cage, they are restricted to the feed that is presented in front of them. Whereas chickens out on pasture, they do rely on their supplemental feed. However, they're also able to consume diverse grasses and various bugs and insects. So this leads to a wider nutrient intake, which means more micronutrients in the eggs that you consume, especially things like vitamin K2, which are significantly higher in pasture-raised animals because they're able to get the vitamin K1 in the grasses themselves and then convert it to K2, which is then deposited in the pasture-raised egg yolk. So chickens out on pasture, they're able to get sunlight, which means they're producing more vitamin D, which shows up in the egg yolk. They also have plenty of space to express their natural instincts. Instead of being confined into a small cage area, they have plenty of space to scratch, peck, forage, run, and be a chicken. So let's talk about low P's eggs. So the 3 P's, PUFAs, pesticides, and phytoestrogens. The PUFA content of conventional eggs has risen dramatically over the last 100 years. And so our low PUFA feed formulation leads to lab-tested low PUFA eggs, which means that you are consuming significantly less PUFAs, specifically linoleic acid and omega-6 that is high in vegetable oils. The second P is pesticides. So our eggs are tested to be glyphosate-free, and that's because we are the full seed to fork operation. We know exactly who is producing the feed ingredients that the chickens consume. They are roaming and eating diverse grasses from chemical-free, pesticide-free pastures. And then the third is phytoestrogens. So we are swimming in estrogens in modern times. Think of plastics. We've got birth control in our tap water, and various pesticides also act as endocrine disruptors. And so we are very much estrogen dominant, exposed to very estrogen mimicking compounds. So soy and flax, which are common feed ingredients, are going to be high in phytoestrogens, and those are tested to build up in the chicken and then increase your phytoestrogen exposure in eggs. We don't need more estrogens in modern life, and we don't need more phytoestrogens in the eggs that we consume. It doesn't need to be this way. So our eggs are low in phytoestrogens since the chickens are not consuming phytoestrogen-rich feed ingredients. Supporting big ag is supporting big pharma. So these feedlot confinement operations rely heavily on pharmaceutical drugs, which are produced by those big pharma companies. When chickens are out on pasture expressing their natural instincts, get fresh air, sunlight, grounding to the earth, in tune with circadian rhythms, you can produce and raise healthy chickens without those pharmaceutical interventions. So at Angel Acres Egg Club, we are needle-free, no vaccines, no antibiotics, no hormones, no pharmaceutical crutches to produce healthy, nutrient-rich eggs. Thanks so much for tuning in. When you support Angel Acres Egg Club, you're helping us build a better regenerative egg system. No cages, no confinement buildings, lower in PUFAs, and healthier eggs for you and the environment.